Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United
of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before approving the agenda, we have two items to add.
You don't have to add one first.
Okay. All right, the other one's consent. Yes. Leah, could you read that
Yes, sir.
addition to the agenda?
Okay, I make a motion to add SS 47-1 to the agenda.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Got it.
Okay. Approval of the August 26, 2025 committee meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minute meetings?
Yes. I'm making a motion to approve the August 26, 2025 committee meeting minutes.
And I will second. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
So the next item is OE12 instructional program, 2024-25. And this is to be added to the consent agenda?
Not yet, after,
Not yet?
if you all approve it.
Okay.
Correct. Dr.
All right.
Stratos is here to present.
All right. Dr. Stratos, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Card. Thank you, Ms. Fraser, and board members at BCSD. What you have in front of you is OE12. If you go to page 2, I want to make note that we have our table of contents.
Okay.
Each sub part of the operational expectation is identified by the page number. So case in point 12.1 is page 5, 12.8 will be page 18. As we're familiar with, the operational expectation has what the superintendent's narrative is. We give a narrative of support material. And then we actually provide documents of support. So if I could walk our board members, please, to page 36 and our guests. This should be paged respectfully for each of you. I'm not going to go through in detail on the narratives for you because this is an extensive operational expectation, but I do want to walk through some points of evidence and how the binder is prepared for you, board members.
Thank you.
Starting on page 36, you have the evidence for subpart 12.1. which states that instructional programs are based on a comprehensive and objective review of best practices and research. So as you turn on to page 37, we've always included our requirements of administrative regulations. As board members, you're very much familiar with our administrative regs, but I do like to keep them in the forefront of our work. So we provided IS 9, which is then supported by starting on page 41, our requirement, and in this case, I'm utilizing mathematics, and you'll see a theme of math being used in here for another subpart of our OE. But we require that our schools utilize the South Carolina Department Education standards. And I really wanted you to have part of this for a reason. The state has done an outstanding job at the development of instructional standards, putting forth skills that students should be able to demonstrate. But even at their language, we turn behind their table of contents, and I do appreciate you humoring me on that. If you go to page 46, it starts with their process of why the standards were rewritten. And if you're familiar, board members, we've gone through English language arts, we've gone through science, we've gone through math, new standards. And this language, and I thought you should become familiar, it gives the why of being able to keep up to date, as well as providing support for our students in contemporary times. So as I shared, you have the state document in here, not the entire state, please. But if you take a look on page 50, we're used to having a standard. Mary will be able to do two-step division. And Middleton's looking because she has been in the classroom. Yes, sir. I got, if you go, yes, sir. Go to page 50, Mr. Smith, in the binder.
Yeah, but you gave us a couple, you gave us page 30.
Yes, I started on page 36, which is where the evidence of practice starts. And I just wanted us to pause a moment to look at page 50 so that membership can see that it's not just that the state tells you Mary will be able to do a two-step equation, but they're now saying what the indicators of success looks like. That is significant because it ties to the work as well that is being done in instructional service department. Case in point, even yesterday, Ms. McKinsey presented scales at our academic cabinet, right? Giving evidence of what a child may be able to do, which shows a shift of just telling you, we want to look at the student work and evidence. 12.1 continues for a period of time. We have shared with you the math textbook adoption, right? Our compliance and meeting standards. And I actually provided you some language on page 54 of a research that was conducted in the areas of mathematics that aligns to the language of the state. So I'm trying to get you to see the why, and that the state is not arbitrarily developing, and that we as a system are following what the state is recommending as well. There's absolute alignment happening. And so then you'll see on page 55, I start again with the evidence of 12.2. And this process carries through throughout this whole document. And yes, I do know it's 179 pages. But I do want us to recognize that this operational expectation is 17 parts. Hence, I think it's important that you as board members continually always have the evidence of practice of what we're doing as a division, because then it lends support for your language of what we're doing with our professional development and in support of the work we do for our schools through our executive directors and our work with our deputy, all right, is not done in isolation. We're part of the script on the stage, and then we work from there of providing this support, and a lot of it is in OE12. Then that our executive directors are able to monitor and continue to strengthen the work that's happening by school leadership. So OE 12.2, which is base instruction on academic standards. I give you an example of what that looks like. And we've done this in the past, our local board approved course lists, right? I showed you the standards. I want you to see how we are able to take the standards and create LBAs is an acronym that we use, local board approved courses. Provided you an executive summary of how we align our work when we create a course with the state standards. And this has been presented to you last October, actually pre-Halloween last year. Reference, I'm on page 57. And then what I shared with you as well, and these QR codes are a little distorted, but some of the work that is done at our school sites, and this is through one of our grants that we have through MSAP. This is our Hilton Head grant. And how our standards create programs, opportunities for our students. Once now, you'll see 12.3 is our alignment. My evidence of practice of that, I did make reference back to what you had seen earlier, the math standards. but then I'm giving you evidence of practice. And in this case, it's project launch. I want to tout this for a moment because this was collective work that Karen started 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 3 years ago, where we took the application of science, we were a little ahead of it, and we brought in a program called Project Launch that comes through Project Lead the Way, and a crosswalk was developed that shows the hands-on classroom experience for our children and our state standards. So once again, as we're bringing in a program, we're ensuring that we are aligned to our state standards. So that's the evidence that you have on page 63. Then I give you algebra unit pacing, Buchan, that many of you are familiar with that language. Page 65 is becoming quite very much language that we're using, the test blueprint.
Hey, maybe I missed something. In terms of you giving us a bunch of information, a bunch of pages, I guess to go back and look at later on. And in reference to you giving us this information, giving us these pages, this information is given to us because of.
So if we go back earlier, let me take you to the beginning on the handout, sir. All right, in the very beginning of the document, go to page. What I tried to show was we have the narrative and the opportunity to review and read much of this. I believe we had it in submitted timely. And so I went from walking you through our narrative of practice for our operational expectation to directly the evidence of practice, Mr. Smith. And that's why I started at page 36. Yes, sir. And that's where I started to say, so I started at page 2 to show you how I had broke down our narratives, starting from page 5 for 12.1 to page 7 for 12.2. And then I walked us over to page 3 to say that I was going to start on page 36 of our evidence of practice. So what you have on page 36 supports what's on the table of contents for page 5. I was trying to give you the evidence.
Hello?
So as I was walking through, I was reading what the subsection is with a component of the operational expectation and then walking through the evidence of that, just to give an idea of how this book has been put together.
Okay, so you just tell us how basically how the book's been put together, so it's tough.
And providing the evidence that supports the narrative of each subsection to the operational expectation. So, for example, on page subsection 12.3 is align the curriculum with South Carolina standards. That's actually written out on page 63. It's a cover page for that section. The 12.3 is the alignment. So I went back and I referenced how we align our work to the math standards that were new. And that's on page 62. And then I brought up and you just had it exactly in your hand, perfect. So the back side of that was the reference to Project Launch to show that as we brought a program in, we assure that we have a crosswalk completed, that we make sure that case in point fourth graders are meeting all the standards that are required, that they will, for the test that they're going to sit for, but also that they're having a hands-on experience at learning science. Okay, so then your next piece of example of our alignment is actually what we have in Rubicon. Which is the algebra math unit, and just an example of it on page 64. And then we shared how we do, I was just starting to share the work of what we do with the test blueprint, which is the example on page 65. I have an AR, I get an OE, Karen, aren't you happy?
I'm not here.
Yeah, well, the team does an exceptional great amount of work. And if you look at page 66, it defines you like, we try to do our work in alignment to that test blueprint. Again, the example here is algebra.
Mr. Chairman? Mr.
Yes.
Chairman? Can I ask a question?
Yes. Colonel Gar.
Okay. All this is good stuff,
Mhm,
but if I went into an Algebra 1 classroom,
mhm.
in that classroom, in the teacher's desk or in a shelf or someplace, I would find this place.
They should have it within their work that they're utilizing in their PLCs. So the answer to that is yes, so
Okay, so let me
pick
ask,
disability.
instructional reviews. Check.
So during instructional reviews, as they're walking through the buildings, not only do they check the alignment of where your work should be at in Rubicon, many pick up the lesson plans that the teachers have at their desks, depending on what is the protocol or practice of that school. Some may have it outside, Colonel Geyer, some may have it in the upper right-hand side of their desk. But yes, that evidence of practice to look where you should be. And I would share with you, we're at the point that if a school is not at pacing, they're right in a communication and giving us a heads up that we are 3-4 days behind, and this is our plan of improvement.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So to keep with walking through the format, and I'm at 12.4 on page 67, which shares effectively measure each student's progress towards achieving or exceeding the standards. I think this was really important to share with you to a point of the detail that our schools are able to look at iReady, because we invest a lot into iReady. So this is an iReady report from Diagnostic. I've left it to keep some, you won't see specific names on it. But we're able to monitor at the district level to where you are at administering. And we can say, you have 48 hours to complete this. We want to be at 100%. Because we recognize that our iReady is administered 3 times in accordance to the law. And then what I shared is a Hanover research document on iReady. We have used this document in depth. It is an excellent research of evaluating iReady. So I thought it was very important to share with you that, yes, not only do we ensure that we're aligned and that we're meeting where our students are at standards, the Hanover research part of this shares with you why iReady and why they are constructed and designed the way they are. I thought that was important for you as board members as well. This is evidence that we use with our ELA teachers and our coaches. They all have access to this, actually Melissa Murray's work. That research finding actually continues for quite some bit for you as board members. And I will share with you, this is the essence of iReady. 2 lessons, not to exceed 90 minutes a week. Beyond that, it's a plateaued effect, and we know that. This gives confirmation of that. So if you take yourself to page 9, that's where you get to pay to OEE 12.5. This part of the OE talks about students being able to have opportunities for instructional programs that develops talents and interests of the student. On page 91, you have direct language from Karen Gilbert. She is our director for career technical education. Artifacts you'll see throughout this segment of the book. But these were the goals. And I will share with you that for the last year, the goals were very much attained. And through our career technical education work, our program has grown tremendously with our students and meeting success to the point that this year we're looking at how to partner deeper with TCL. So as a student is completing, I'm going to use the culinary program as an example. As they complete their 3 courses in culinary, we're partnering starting in January, and this is work we started last year, where the students will be able to sit for the college culinary courses and continue and have a tighter pipeline. 12.6, ensure instructional programs address the different learning styles. Here we went into our course offerings. You have 3 pages sharing that, and you should be familiar with this document I've shared with the board last year. And as we get to 12.7, we're talking about innovative programs and instruction. And this is actually work that a young lady to my left has actually done at length, and we did bring forward to the board is Marzana. All research-based instructional framework, and that we're finding more and more other school districts in South Carolina are utilizing this instructional framework at the delivery of providing opportunities of deeper learning for our students and actually best practices for our teachers in the classrooms. If you see page 99, though, not only have we put in place an instructional framework from when we last presented this to you last summer, board members, we've now put together an observation tool called Leo, where we can take a look and see, are we actually doing these practices in the classroom? And we coach and build that capacity. This is not an I got you. This is building capacity of practice in our classrooms. So I wanted you to just have a snapshot of that work. This work was actually developed within the division. It is used highly by our coaches. We have our principals. I believe it is what is a 5420, Dr. Cox?
So we've reestablished as executive directors to the principals some kind of a framework of expectations of how often want to see them in classrooms. And within that, embedded within that is how often they should be using the Leo tool that we refer to capture these documentation that not that they're going, but it helps them provide an overarching framework. Like you can see the dashboard in the building. So it captures all their observations together to kind of paint a picture of what teaching looks like in their school.
So as we're building instructional leadership, because that is our number one role, our EDs are able to work with principals at the school sites to say, hey, I see learning happening. I see a gap here. I'm looking at your test data, but I'm not seeing you focus in this segment of the instructional framework. Let's have a better alignment. And that's the type of work we provide the tools. They are basically the chefs, if that makes sense. We're like the sous chefs. We're getting everything ready for you. And then the EDs become the chefs to make it happen at the table for our students and teachers. 12.8, ensure that all instructional programs include both content and practice are regularly evaluated and modified. So I do want to take you to that component. This past, is it 2 years ago, we actually had the training. We're talking about academic return on investment. So I'm giving you, this is the form. I didn't want to get into all the detail, but we have started looking at our work and evaluating our work and writing our work in purpose and alignment to our district strategic plan. Our departments work very close at having departmental goals, and those goals actually are aligned to the programs that you may ask for. So I wanted to share the AROI, academic return on investment, and then a narrative in support for that actually can be found within the document itself, right? I cite the research for you in the document in 12.9. And within our division, Ryan Copeland is our keeper of our AROI. So I want you to see that systems are being deepened from the time that we presented this maybe 5 years ago. Some of these items we didn't have. So it's a continual improvement model that's happening within the division and the school system in support of what we're doing instructionally. 12.9, protect instructional time. Oh, turn the page. It's a map. This basically shares with you the focus on master boards. This was presented to our principals last year. What is the purpose of master board development?
What is master board? I've heard that term. What is that?
Great question, Mr. Smith.
What is-
So let's go to high school. In order to determine who teaches what and what students receive classes, it's called master board. Here you use it, it's Power School is the house for it. But when you're designing that scheduling, it's called master board, and we house it in Power School. And the master board is designed for the purpose of who? Students. And that's work that is reviewed through the division to see if we're in alignment to what the state requires. And when the division, Karen, I'm using you a lot for an example, but as you're here, as she approves the secondary master board, she sends that information to the executive director to say, hey, I approve this. This middle school has met requirements that we have put forward as a school system. This high school is, yes, given the advisory time. They're providing the right alignment of math classes, science classes. So we have a process in place that is our master schedules, our master board is reviewed annually before they're deployed and you start scheduling students. So would you have a point of evidence as well as a presentation that was done to the principals? 12.10, calendar, that's easy enough. We follow the law. Real simple, follow the law. We have had great opportunity as a school system to utilize the language of a modified calendar. Again, hello, Ms. McKinsey. She has done work with myself. And this past year, Mr. Flowers did a great job. We as a school system have our calendars completed up through 2028. And that's kudos to the work of the division as well as the work of our board. So our community knows 2 years in advance what days you could plan ahead, or a teacher can plan their wedding. So it is the administrative regulation and it has the citation of the law. And all requirements that are tied, there were 2 ARs that I shared with you that we maintain compliance to. On page 113, you're familiar with this segment. We shared with them the textbook math adoption. That's a reference I used here. That's why I used the math standards earlier. I tried to keep math as a constant within the document for evidence of practice. I provided the administrative regulation, the second administrative regulation. And this is the process that we adhere to. 12.12. This is about our standards meeting or exceeding state standards or nationally recognized model standards. Here, and once again, I gave you an example of Rubicon. And I wanted to reference back, if you recall, I did have a pamphlet in here from Changemakers. We highlight IB at Hilton Head Island High School. I want to share at this point as well that we have 2 other programs that we're very familiar with. Advanced Placement Capstone is in your narrative, and also ACE Cambridge. One thing you may not know is that May River High School has probably had the highest national scores on ACE Cambridge. And I wanted to take this moment to tout that here at Academic Committee, because I really think that's important that you hear that, board members. The teachers, the school, and we're working to get a tighter alignment for ACE diplomas. And that is work that's continuing this year. But I think it's important to tout that they've had the highest national scores in ACE collectively. And that's kudos to the work of that school and community.
In North
In North America.
That includes Canada.
Okay.
And how long have we had, how long?
I want to say we're in year 4. We're starting with ACE. I believe we're in year 4.
Second year being the highest.
Yeah, it is their second year at the highest, but it's year 4 program. They started with general paper,
Yeah.
which was think of general paper like a combination of English 1 and 2. The whole goal is to help you be a better writer, be able to write a narrative prose, persuasive prose, and informational. That's the purpose of general, like how to help you write that paper. So, and they're in year 4, as is Battery Creek, both schools. But
We have
had to
a
tell me we
question
were-
from Mr. Dallas.
Hello, everyone. This is a fantastic information, and thank you. Um, when we have a school like May River High School that is really sort of in this particular area doing extremely well, how are the learnings from that school exported to other schools for consideration?
So if I may, so
Yes,
that
ma'am.
is actually at sharing their results. I'm going to use the current principal of Battery Creek, and I'm sure Dr. Cox has done this. So there's a little competition happening internally. So Battery Creek now wants to outperform, and not that the prior administration didn't, but I have a feeling Dr. Thompson's going to be is a bit more competitive than many of us in the room. And she wants to outperform May River. So it's communicating amongst our principals, sharing their results. I know Dr. Cox is a little competitive as well. So being able to have that banter amongst them that they create within high school, and I'm going to share this. Reformed high school principal, reformed high school principal. High school principals are the worst. They are horribly competitive. So if I could share that as well as she has reached out actually early this morning, like, we need to talk about Cambridge. And I'm like, okay. I don't know what that means because it always ends up costing us money. But we are open to expand deeper and broader, casting the net at Battery Creek as well. And we're open for other schools to bring in the program, sir. Because eventually what happens, the program becomes self-sufficient, pays for itself. If we follow the path of what assessments the state says may be used for accountability purposes as well. We are reimbursed as a system. So as a system, we pay for the professional development, but the assessments themselves, if they fall within the accountability window of what is for college readiness, we are reimbursed.
Excellent. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Pastor Gordon has a question.
Good afternoon, all. The question I got is, if a student fails the end of the fail the exam at the end of the year, but passes the class, how does that work?
So there's two different ones. So the end of course exam, Pastor Gordon, is 20% of a student's grade. So if Mary walks in with an 80 and fails the exam with an F, she walks out with a 60. I just get out with the hair on my chin. No disregard, sir. I do apologize. But if Mary walks in with a 68, 20%, and now I have failed the course. So there's that 20% marker on an end of course exam. That is a requirement.
Okay. Can they retake it?
If they fail the course, the answer to that is yes. If they fail the exam, but not the course, it is not a retake for an end of course exam.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Smith has a question.
Yes, Mr. Smith.
Wow, that's a interesting piece because so you can retake the course, but you can't and that's another year, or you can retake the course at.
So the language in the vital regulations stipulates that if I failed a course in second semester of my, let me just say junior year, you had to sit within the upcoming semester, resit for the course. Now because I failed, we're not doing unit recovery, right? And these are courses that you need in regards to graduate high school.
So when you retake the entire course, you do retake the end of course exam.
It is the entire course.
Okay, that's what I was trying to understand. Because when you said you can retake the course, but not the exam. It was kind of.
No. You retake the course. If I failed the course,
Right.
you must retake the exam. If I fail the exam, but pass the course where you can. If you walk into a test with an A, you could still 20%, still brings me down to an 80, right? So you have kids who played a numbers game. I don't want to be the top 10%. I just want to get out of here. I got to show up at that EOC, right? I'm walking in with a 92. You know what? I'm going to work. It does happen. So that child can still pass the course and meet graduation requirements. But the regulation, Mr. Smith, stipulates that the child must sit for the exam, does not say the child must pass.
Okay. I just want, yeah.
Yeah, so here, it's the language of how it's utilized. Now, we try to encourage everyone to do the best they can, right? Because your grade is basically your resume, right? So that's the culture we want to be able to have at a school site. Okay?
It just put me in mind, in terms of writing, my English teacher was mad at me because, I blew we had the X exam when I was in school.
Mhm.
And I blew that out of the water. But she said, where was this writing at?
I knew you could go there.
And she was like, I saw a little your sample on your little sample. I was like, yeah, so that's why I actually kind of just want to figure out what that looked like.
You were just playing with your teachers.
He just want to make sure he passed that exit.
Claire has a question.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I need to step back into the weeds a little bit. Let's talk about Algebra 1 teacher.
Mhm.
That teacher have how many classes?
3.
3. And the number of students they will have is 22.
Well, the state actually allows an allocation of 28 to 1, but we have classes, we have a smaller class size for Algebra 1, subject to it being an EOC and,
Right, so
yes, sir.
60 students
They could have 6
Total.
semester.
for a semester. And we're on block schedule.
Yes, sir.
So we're an hour and a half class.
Like 90 minutes. Yes, sir.
Right?
Right.
Okay. So when does the teacher and how does the teacher input all this data so that she tracks that individual students? You got 60 students, got 60 grade books or screenshots of that student. Okay. When and how does she do that kind of data collection that teachers have to do to fill out all the requirements that I see in here?
Well, I don't want to give you a misnomer that the teachers are doing this, Colonel Geyer. So let's think about Rubicon. I'm an Algebra 1 teacher. I am going into, actually, let me back up. Can I use geometry? And let me use Pythagorean's theorem that has algebra in it. I'm going to go to that segment in Rubicon where the lessons will be there. Lessons are now written that teachers can do a pre-assessment and a post-assessment. That can be executed electronically for teachers today. So the day of having to sit and do unfortunately, the English teacher has to do it a little harder, right? That writing, those essays, there's a lot more, but even to that, there are tools that our teachers have with our new adopted materials. But a lot of that is conducted electronically. So that it makes it a little easier for the educator. Now, if they're utilizing Google Classroom, yes, they're able to grade, but they still have to walk from Google Classroom into Educator's Handbook to put the grade. There's not a simultaneous bridge like you may be familiar from Blackboard or Canvas. But even those were cumbersome because they still required that one more inputting, and we are in a similar scenario. There's still that one more inputting. That's why they have a planning period. Let's stick with the high school level. If my duty day starts at 8 o'clock, class bell starts at 8:45. They have time at that window as well, unless they don't have duty. And then I also have a 90-minute block plus my lunch during the academic school day. So there's time and windows for educators to do their administrative duty from updating their attendance and updating their grade book and making parent phone calls or going to the school counselor. That is embedded in our school day, unless the teacher is teaching an extra period, because I did have a teacher help me with that last year. And that principal allowed that person to then stay after school and do their work as well.
Ms. Frazier asks, are grades in Power School?
Yes, that is it is our student information system, our SIS, and that's where report cards get generated from, but Educator's Handbook is also used. Is that used also for referrals, correct? Yeah, those data points get bridged into Power School.
seamlessly.
They did. These guys next door do a phenomenal job.
Okay.
They really do.
It's a good question.
Yeah. And they even close we close the grade books 5 days after uploading of, for report cards, a grade change form is then requested. So it's not open that you can go and, yeah, yes, sir.
Parents can check that.
Yes, yes.
I know they do.
Ms. Frazier said no, she was just wondering if that was what the question that the colonel wanted to know.
Thank you, Ms. Frazier.
Thank you, Leah.
So I'm going to take you to the last few segments of this OE. And again, I appreciate your tenderness and patience. 12.13, adequately monitoring control student access to and utilization of electronically distributed information. I can't put forward, if I share with you the evidence that's coming from people next door with regard to the digital tools of support. There is ongoing support to monitor, but as much as we monitor, people create simultaneously. So we want to recognize that. And that is actually the beauty of the work of our tech department next door, because they are expedient. If they hear of something, they address it to us immediately. So, but I wanted you to have the language that is put forward. But then I wanted you to see the next few pages, share with you. That's 126.
Okay.
Shares with you some of the software that we utilize and the standard of security tied to them in order for us to accept them. Our information technology team, district of 21,000 students, just over, they can compete with any large district. The engineers back there are very good. I'm saying that offline, but I have, and Mark Schoen heard me say something good, so, but I'm they're excellent. They're a great team, and they're very conscientious, even down to our ed tech department, which falls partially in our division, and what we purchase to assure that we are protecting our students, especially when it comes to data sharing or breaching. They have to meet our standards of vendor. We don't meet theirs.
Are you referring to Mrs. SDNOs?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I have to say it again, vendor must meet our standards. I gave you a little thing on page 133 of a magic school. And I wanted to share that because this took a year of review. AI is a repository of information. The reason we opened Magic School is that we control that repository. It is not an open playbook. We are still held to the standard of protecting our children who we serve. If we don't have certain security levels, we are at risk of what? Losing our E-rate funding. Hence, I listen to what IT has to share with me about security, because I will never compromise us as a system that I could compromise our fiscal amount, all right? So I gave you some Magic School, I gave you our regulation. 12.14, I'm almost there, Karen. Ensure appropriate input from students and parents, right? This is regarding surveys. So I went to the textbook adoption so that you could see again, because we had input across the board. We have the climate survey that comes out as well, that we are required by state law to administer. Okay, that starts on page 139. But in this presentation, when we presented to you as a board, we shared with you how we have received the input from our educators. And I wanted to remind you of the climate survey that we utilize. And that it's even compliant to the state law, the process that we utilize to receive input. So let me give an example. AP Lit course at high school X. Materials come in. The teachers actually receive the samples and they share it with the class to get their input. It is not, the decision is not made in isolation. And I just picked AP just by arbitrary, but I needed you to recognize that our students do have a voice collecting our materials. 12.15 ensures that teachers participate, that's on page 145, in collaborative learning communities and other professional learning to improve instruction, student learning. I can't tout anymore about PLC work that is done within the system. I cannot. Very proud of the work that our system puts forward. We've had consultants come in and look at the work that the division has put forward that are used and supported by our EDs, and they have said, we have all the tools in place. They have touted, especially about our PLC book, has received great raise, even from the state, all the way up to the state. So this is also our alignment to MTSS. I shared with you on page 151 to share for you to know what the role of an instructional coach is, because this is provided to our principals and to our coaches. Guidance has been put together by Melissa Murray. And yes, it's extensive. Melissa actually made a whole table chart. And if you look on to page 156, this is an example, Mr. Smith, this color page on 156, it's in landscape, not portrait, of a master schedule where the time for PLCs is embedded. And that's the things that Ms. McKinsey reviews. She makes sure that we're compliant and she passes that on to Dr. Cox to say this school is compliant in order for their master schedule to go forward. 12.16 talks about our engagement for families. Each of you are very familiar with the work of Dr. Campbell and team. I've given you some examples of the work, but I do want to tout that this year, actually it started last year, it started bringing in the bilingual liaisons and the parent personnel paid through Title I and giving deeper training to them as well. We're on year 2 of that. So this is giving you examples of some of the work they've executed. And again, it's only a small tip of it. And with that, I will walk you to item 12.17, the last segment of our operational expectation. And that is the work of our school counselors. This is the work of Latasha Middleton and team, and Ms. Middleton works very close with our division. We cannot get, when I apologize, there was a blank page there, I apologize. But on page 169, it gives you a presentation. It shows you the ratio and the standards that our school counselors meet. And that is my last level evidence of practice for our 17 points of operational expectations. Well,
Wow. Thank you, Dr. Stratus. That was amazing.
thank you, Dr. Carr.
Any questions from anybody either in the room or online?
Hi, this is Miss Gordon. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I want to thank the whole team, Dr. Stratus, and this whole team. It's been a great presentation. I'm sorry I'm not there in person, but this is what we want to hear, and and trying to understand and understand what the teachers are going through. You know, it's a lot, guys. It's a lot that they have to go through to make sure that we are doing what we do. So thank you, Dr. Stratus, and thank you to your illustrious team. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Gordon.
Ms. Frazier says, so much work you guys have to do. Great job. And Mr. Dallas has his hand up.
Yes, again, joining the others and following up on Colonel Geyer's question, and have we taken a look at the assignment of support to the teachers in the classroom? And has this occurred statewide, or has it occurred locally or other districts? Looking at the amount of input, I just wonder if we might need to, or might it be worth consideration to take a look at should there be a position to help them with those administrative requirements? So they could spend more contact time with the students.
So the increase of student contact time would be a shift in the design of the master schedule to increase the amount of classes a load that a teacher may have or a longer period. And I think the design that, and Dr. Cox, correct me, and again, I'll share secondary because most of us right now in the room are that. The secondary level, they're very protective of their time.
Yeah. And there's some regulations that we have to follow
Yes.
as well.
And then at the elementary level, we have early dismissal. And I mean early, what I mean, dismissal is 2:15, 2:30, and the teacher's contract continues. So they're able to have time to do this work when they're not having student contact. And to turn the grades over to a third person lends for ambiguity as well as confidentiality
Right.
of that student's grade. So that's another item at large.
And when as an elementary teacher, when you're not looking directly at your student work, that would hinder you a lot more in a classroom than anything else would.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Frazier.
Okay,
Student
thank you.
evidence. I could hear Ms. Murray saying it.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions?
This is where that second motion would come in now.
Okay, that's kind of what I thought, but thanks, Robin. At this point, I'll move to add OE 12 to the consent agenda.
I second the motion.
Thank you, Ms. Frazier. And any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Gordon,
Aye.
thank you. And again, Dr. Stratos, thank you and your team for all the work that went into this and for the presentation of, I took 4 pages of notes.
Only 4. Thank you, Dr. Clark. And board members, thank you.
The team recognizes the support that you provide us, and I want to graciously say thank you to all. And I want us to make sure that we recognize that our work is not in isolation. Our work is tangent with the work of other administrators in the system.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So moving on to 4.1, student goals and priority.
Okay, good evening, Miss.
Thank you. I
board
thought that
members.
was you, but I wasn't
No,
sure.
No, it's okay. Tonight, we're going to go through several administrative regulations, as you can see on the agenda. That is due to the work that happened this summer with our student service department and also with our legal department. We have many administrative regulations that will be brought to you. Last month it started, there was a little bit of confusion due to Dr. White leaving. So a few of those are coming back tonight. I would like to take a moment to thank Karen McKenzie this evening. She has worked very hard with our student service department and with Dr. Cox, who has taken Dr. White's position, to ensure that the administrative regulations are aligned with those in ISD and to be brought forth this evening. So if you all are okay, can we go ahead and start with AR 47 that you approved to add, because Karen Stoddard will be presenting that one. And then Dr. Cox will be doing the remaining of the administrative regulations.
Absolutely.
Is that okay?
Whatever works
Okay.
best for you guys.
That way she can head out.
Yep.
Not sure about this, but so there was a law, section 5910-215, mandatory seizure training programs has to be in our schools. There was not an AR to address that. So the AR is now ARSS 47-1. Basically, it was followed by the law of the administration regulation. The purpose of the superintendent's expectations and goals and priorities objectives is section 1.
This is the executive.
Huh?
This is the executive summary.
Executive summary?
Yes, it may be easier for you to go through the executive summary and tell them, just give them a synopsis of each paragraph.
Oh, okay,
Section.
okay.
So this.
So that section 1 is the purpose of our AR. Section 2 is the added non-discrimination clause. Section 3 was provision for the Seizures Safe Schools Act. And section 4 is our training program.
So what you're seeing here, what we provided you each of these is you'll get a red line version, you'll get the clean version, and you'll get the executive summary. Why we put this one first is because the remaining administrative regulations were being revised as things change. This is a completely
Brand new.
built from scratch AR. So that's why you're seeing the entire thing in red. I just want to be clarified. So when a law like this changes, then school districts have to in turn put in an implementation plan for it. The thing that's great about this is we have our nurses that have their medical expertise to help us develop these administrative regulations. So I think that is an important part to this, to understand that she, along with our other staff here, from a nursing perspective, help us develop this plan to include things like the training plan that you see outlined here. And that's why and then the legal references in section 4. I'll go over this again in just a second, but some of these things are going to seem repetitive as we update them, and I'll point those out. The bulk of this one right here to pay attention to is really in section 3 and section 4. That's where it outlines like why we had to establish this and how we go about doing it. And it's difficult to develop these types of things without having folks that have a medical background, the training and expertise to be able to do that. So you actually work to help write this administrative regulation, correct?
All right.
Based on the new law that was put in place.
All right.
That makes sense.
Thank you. Are there any questions on ARSS 47.1?
Thank you,
Thank
Karen.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, and the remaining administrative regulation updates will be provided by Dr. Cox.
Okay, so I got a lot of paper spread out, so I did this on purpose. I also want to say that our legal department, I want to add that into, because the folks that are coming together to work through these things, it's really a system thing, and coming together to talk through these things to make sure that we have consistent updates, and then trying to put it together in a way that's easily presented out and understood. So I'm going to go through each one at a time. I'm going to highlight kind of a system way to do it so you track and follow along. So we're going to start with SS1. Okay. So you're going to have 3 different documents with each of these. All right. And I know you're familiar with seeing this, but I want to point something out on this first one. In section 1 and 2, in each of the administrative regulations that you're seeing going through tonight, that part is going to be redlined in each of the ARs that we look at tonight. And in section 1 and 2, that's the purpose, and then the non-discrimination clause. Also, the legal references are going to be updated at the bottom of each of the ARs that we talk about today. And so some of the ARs you're going to see today, it's a sentence, it's a line, it's a word, or it's just those areas that we're going to talk about. I'll still go through each one. I'll give us a second to shuffle to the new set of papers so we're all on the same page because we're looking at 3 documents at once. But hopefully we can do it in a systematic way where everybody can keep tracking with me. So first, we're looking at SS1. And there are 4 areas. Oh. Yes.
Join us. I helped to get you a seat.
Yeah. All right. So I'm making sure everybody's tracking. So when we're looking at SS1, you have your executive summary. Then I will refer to the red line version. And then you also have the clean version that you have for. So you got 3 different parts. So just as I stated before, section 1 and 2, you will see those together. That's going to be consistent in each of these ARs that we talked about tonight. Okay. The thing, and then same with, I'm actually going to skip down to the legal references as new laws change or get updated, or if they weren't cited or referenced, we've gone back and referenced those in here. So you'll see that at the bottom. The only other part in SS1 that was updated was, you see in letter H, it says college, career, and military readiness. That is consistent with our state, the model for the South Carolina profiles for a South Carolina graduate, to include the accountability model for college and career readiness, which includes college, career, and military readiness. So that's why that was updated for SS1. So I don't know if I'm supposed to prompt for questions or he is. Anybody have any questions on SS1
Yeah.
before?
Thanks for asking.
Okay. All right. So now we're going to collect our papers and move on to SS2. And this one, some of these will be a little faster than others. In SS2, the purpose had already been updated. There are only 2 areas that we needed to update in SS2, and that is the non-discrimination clause and the legal references that are there. Okay. And then I'll go into a little detail as we go into the other ARs of the actual changes that were there, but the overall purpose of the administrative regulation. Okay. Any questions on SS2? Because those are just some of the systematic adjustments we're making. Now, you're gonna have to let me shift as we do this. So now we're on to SS4. Some of these were already done as we talked about before. So the numerical order is not exactly clean. So you guys have already seen some of these before, or they'll be brought back at a later time. So now when we're looking at SS4, you're going to see a little more updates in here. Again, we've already talked about 1, 2, and the legal references. So we're going to go to section 3. In section 3, letter B, we had listed out there previous, it had an example of an IB. We cross that out. If you reference what we discussed earlier, we have more than in the IB program. So instead of that, we just cross that out and listed out the advanced programs. That one, we have several different versions of advanced programs within Beaufort County School District. And then the other part in there that you will look at is so in section A, on letter A, talks about grade placement guidelines. This was the work that was done in conjunction with student service with instructional services. And it just added the reference in A of based on the state guidelines of placement of students. And then in letter B, there was an added line in there about there may be circumstances that warrant a full evaluation to determine the most appropriate grade level of student. Okay. And then at the bottom, you will see in this case right here, when you see that many legal references, you would see that there were many legal references we had to go back and add, where some we just had to add a change to a law or a different part that was in there. So that's SS4. Any questions on SS4?
Okay, that's a quick question.
Yes, sir.
How in the world do you pull out all these leading? And all of this is new?
Some of
A lot
it-
of work.
some of it is new. And we also had to add the board coherent governance, because there were a lot of student services ARs across the board
Mhm.
that didn't have the board's coherent governance, because they were done prior to coherent
In
governance coming.
2017.
Yes, so therefore I went and updated. And there were some, major legal changes on the state and federal level that, yes, we had to update cases, we had to update statutes. There have been some changes. So I spent a lot of my time looking at legislation and cases.
You have Lexus.
I do, and it's helpful in some ways, but I have some other resources that work out.
Just amazing. I mean.
A lot of work.
Mhm. Well, no.
No, it's a test.
It's a test.
It's a test. Smell no smoke.
But no, I mean, I'm glad you brought that up, sir, because one, it takes a tremendous amount of work, and attention to detail. But also, it's gonna prompt us to have to update this as the laws change. In addition to just being aware of where they are, they have to pay attention to the changes that come up. And so we have to come back and update these from time to time because laws change.
And let me add as well, the departments, they sometimes get updates before we get them.
Mhm.
So they will contact us and let us know, hey, this came across our desk, let us know. So we work very well together. We work in conjunction with each other to make sure the things are updated.
Dr. Cox, you also bring this up during principal meetings and your portfolio meetings, updating the school leaderships.
Yeah, and sometimes it's through a state law change. Sometimes it's through a proviso change that we have to update these things. So this is an annual thing that we have to review.
Or the South Carolina Department of Education will come up with a memorandum or, something that we need to add.
So now, I know we're on SS7. And that's a mission of resident students. Again, we talked about sections 1, 2 for references. So I will into section 3. The section 3 there is required proof of birth. You'll see that in section 3 that we updated there in red. And then in section 6, you saw that addition there. This is in addition to, this is added Department of Social Services for temporary living situations to include kinder care and safety placement. It is important that we keep up with those kind of changes and state provides additional guidance on those. And so we've updated that there. Again, and now in section 4, we're looking at B, that's on page 2. And that is talking about the military provision based on pending transfer. So we are a purple star military district. So we wanted to update our regulations in there. There's several changes in there that allows for families in their enrollment process. We have to provide some flexibility as people are moving to us. So it gives us the flexibility in order to enroll, to ensure that we're still assisting them because they may not have all of the documents that they would just transfer here to be able to enroll. So we wanted to assist the families in doing so. Yeah. So those were the major changes in this one. If you could look on page 3, the reason this is going to be such an extended document, you have to outline and follow all the state policies and protocols for enrollment of the student. So there's some updated language as well in letter E and G. And then in section 5, it just added behind the superintendent or his or her designee. So those are the major changes in SS7. That again, of the ARs we looked at tonight, this is one of the longer ones that we do have.
Yes, I appreciate it because you're complying with federal guidelines as well on the registration of students.
To your point earlier, I want to make sure that we have eyes on this. If you look at on page 4, if you see on page 4 where it adds, you see where there was some existing law, but then you have the red there, that means that the law has changed. And so when the law changes, that's going to prompt us to make some of these updates and revisions throughout our administrative regulations. So that is all for SS7. Anybody got any questions on those? Okay. Let me know if I'm moving at a good pace, okay? No, we're flipping through a lot of paper.
Right.
So I want to make sure everybody has a chance to get situated. So now we are on to SS9, and this is the admission of homeless students. Now, I do want to say that when we're doing things like this, we do the homeless students for the purpose of this administrative regulation is based on the state definition of homeless. So that is what's going to drive this in here. This is something that we have to clearly define. The general public may mischaracterize that. There are several other instances where families would fall into the state definition of homeless, more so than the general person would have an understanding of. Okay. So we added section 1 and 2 and the legal updates as we discussed. And then we made an update in section 7, and that's referring to, and it's we removed the medical records as a component of immunization. So it's on section 7. And it would just, if you look at it, there is it's not a typo, but in section 7, the words are crossed out. They're just not highlighted in red on at the bottom of page 2. And again, we talked about the law stuff. You can also see the date side of the law when some of those changes. For example, this says revised September 2025. You cross-reference that to see when the law actually changed, or when we came back and updated it. Any questions on that before I move on to the next one?
No, I know that I believe that at the law conference, they did talk about some of these laws being changed. I was and I do remember the homeless law because I think one of the board members brought it up because this year here, I think this is the first year where we were doing where the kids can, in athletics, the kids can transfer. I think a kid can transfer a school or play outside, and they were talking about how this law had gone to play with those rules and regulation. And so I do remember them saying that that's something about this about the homeless about the homeless law which was changed. I do remember the attorney talking about that on stage, and I don't remember exactly what she said, but I do remember that she did mention something about this.
You will commonly hear this referred to in South Carolina as McKinney-Pinto. That's what you will commonly hear that referred to as South Carolina. Okay. So now we're on to SS13. And we got our 3 different versions. I do want to point out that our folks kept me in line by I even have 3 different color paper clips to keep me organized.
I love this color.
I do not appreciate the colors, but I do appreciate the red, black and white, the garnet black. That would not have been my preference in color. But I do appreciate the organizational tactics that they had. So in this one, we did section 1, 2 in the legal references. So the things that I want to point out to you in section D, you'll see the right to appeal administrative decisions. It is there. And then in section 4,
Yep.
you see some slight changes there where must was taken out and shall was added, and then you see the other change of board to be. Okay. Any questions on SS 13? You're excited. We're on to the last one. All right, the last one is SS 15.
Really easy.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. We had a question?
Yeah, quick, and this one was just students know their rights. How do we uphold, how is that, what does that process look like in terms of letting students know their rights? In terms of students shall be aware made of their legal rights.
So in several ways, actually, it just depends. So for example, we have a lot of handbooks that we do. And student handbook, and it's gonna, the reason I say several ways, so I can point to you in several examples where this is going to occur. So for example, if a student and their family is attending a 504 or an IEP meeting, they're going to be given their procedural safeguards. And that's an example of when they're given their rights. If they're a student that is an athlete that participates in extracurricular activities, when they're given their handbook for the athletics, they have to go through and sign and document it in there. That informs them of their rights. And then we have student handbooks that students are given, and that is informing them of their rights. And then some of that is also done in our registration process. So when students are registering, they're made aware of their rights that they have depending on certain areas.
That's a constitution for hearings. So it goes up to, in some of the faculty handbooks, to let the faculty know of the student rights as well, that it's in the faculty handbook.
Correct.
So the adults need to know it too.
So it's not done in one place. Dr. Lee brought up another good point. In every disciplinary hearing, the parents are made aware of their rights before the hearing begins. So it's embedded in practice in many areas across the system. And this is an overarching thing saying that we're responsible for making kids aware of their rights. Families aware. Did that answer your question? Yes. Thank you. And so we're on down to SS 15. This is the easier one because it is just the three areas that we highlighted before. And this is student involvement in decision making. And then the areas that you see that were updated or are ones that have been consistently in that sections 1, 2, and the legal references. Any questions about SS 15? And that is all of the administrative, the ARs for student services. And again, I can't say
This month.
Yeah, for this month. I really, really appreciate and all of the work, the collaborative work that goes into reading all these, updating all these, the research behind it, making sure that the overlap between the different divisions are in sync. So thank you again to the team for all the work they put into this.
Thank you, Dr. Cox. Great
Sir.
information.
It's just a test.
So
We'll move on to a Health Advisory Committee update.
So thank you, Dr. Carr, and Dr. Cox, thank you again. I want to bring your attention to those who attended Health Advisory Council yesterday. It was announced at that time that the South Carolina Association for the Advancement of Health Education, and I apologize for raising my voice, but I'm competing with test. Our Health Advisory Committee was recommended for an award for the work that they have conducted. And they received it. So I want to give kudos and thank you to the work of our Health Advisory team. Award receipt of that will be on November 14th. I will work the details with Ms. Cushenberry as to whom they receive for this district, the award itself. And I have to say, once again, kudos to that team. They've took on every grade level, every grade band curriculum, correlated the standards to the state provisos, then correlated that to text. That was not an easy job. And I have to say, great points to everyone who has to put in the hours of work that went forward. So that was A and B, and I should have handed this down to you earlier, Mrs. Cushenberry, if you may. Board members, I walked you through a 12.17 point operational expectation. Not that I'm asking to add to the weight of our work, but I do want to ask the opportunity for a motion of consideration that the HAC work becomes part of the evidence of our OE, because it is a regulation practice. And so we can provide annually the agenda and the work that the HAC is providing our system. So if possible, I know Mrs. Cushenberry is typing it in for academic committee board members, and I do apologize at that delay. So I'll pause until that is typed in, and then we could have conversations necessary. Mrs. Cushenberry.
That's the motion. I can't make it any bigger though.
No, you're good. I can read it. Leah, can you see it?
Yes, I
Say-
can see it. You want me to read it?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. I move that the Beaufort County Board of Education include evidence of work of the Health Advisory Committee to operation. Let me move your face. Your face. Expectation 12 and to be referenced as OE 12.18.
I will second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ms. Gordon?
Aye.
Thank you.
Awesome.
You.
Mr. Chair, before we move on, I would like to comment on that.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Smith.
In terms of the Health Advisory Committee, I don't know how I got the meeting last night, but I would just like to say that I really appreciate that committee. They have a lot of information to cover. I'm talking about the booklets are so thick. It's like they go through a library of information within every segment that and the lady that heads it up.
Amy Pryor.
Miss Pryor, she really takes what she does serious, and everyone who comes to that meeting, I mean, that whole team is very in sync and in sound. One person the one person is not there. They try to figure out, hey, who's here going to take that workload on, and they team it. I just want to say on behalf of watching them for the last however long I've been going to their meetings. I think that the board. With the last 2 years, they have really been an instrument to this district and to this board as well. So I just would like to definitely highlight them, and I said that kudos to them in their award. They really deserve it. The amount of time they put in. You talk about our clock. They put some time and they go through a lot of information, and yeah, I just want to say I really appreciate them, and I just want to let that be known publicly that if you hadn't been, you might want to check it out. I mean, they read law books. So, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Robin, could you put that slide of vacancies on the HAC that you just had up?
Yes.
Thank you. This came up yesterday. The bulk of the work of this committee has been done primarily by about 5 people. There are a significant number of vacancies. The list that Robin has put up, and I believe this comes from the state, which maybe should lead to a discussion, not necessarily by us and not necessarily this evening, but some of the problematic issues of getting people committed to the committee, committed to the work. I think it's been an ongoing problem to identify students to be involved in this process. It didn't seem to be particularly clear to me how students were identified, how they were identified, and a timeline of when they would serve. So as you can see, it's a committee of 13, and there are now 8 vacancies. And given the workload that Mr. Smith just alluded to, I think we're facing some difficulties of workload and the people to actually review the materials and make recommendations and reports to the board. So I just wanted to put that into the minutes, that this needs to probably be looked at more critically.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Smith.
I just told in terms of the 2 students, I think possibly they're one of the DELO programs where those kids they read and sleep. I think that possibly would be somewhere we may want to start. In terms of if they have their seniors, or I'm not sure exactly what the criteria look like exactly in terms of that 1 year, however long they serve. That may be ones that want to be something that we may look at for that. But as a community member, I'm also now that I have this list, and I will let people know that there's possibly an opening and that they may want to apply to possibly fill one of these positions.
Yes.
Because I think we were going to do it before, but I think we needed to wait. But I'm not sure. So yes, so now that we know that, then I think that's communication is everything. I appreciate that. So
yep.
I think we could, because I know Dr. Stratus was definitely was on it. So except for ours.
So for the edification of the board, there's a form that's available. That's a JOT form that is filled out. Then those applicants come forward to academic committee. Recommendations are made from academic committee to the board for the selection. And I do, if you do know someone, I encourage to reach out to Ms. Cushenberry. She will send the JOT form out because to join, it would be greatly appreciated. The other thing I want to add as board members, the adoption of physical education textbooks is disaligned with the regulation. That's what puts so much work to this group of people for our health, especially on the reproductive health. So in your work that you do at the state level, they need to recognize the disalignment of what a law is to what our classroom teachers have the opportunity of delivery of instruction.
Thank you for adding that.
Thank you, sir.
And if the one thing that stood out to me, I would like to see more students involved in this process, and to limit it to the president of a student body seems to be a major barrier. And I'm not sure how we get that. I would like to see recommendations from principals of up and coming juniors that might be great students to serve in this capacity as seniors. Now, I'd like to just explore maybe how we deal with that barrier down the road. But anyway, if we have people that we're aware of that might be great additions to this committee, we should work to get some applications and see if we can build numbers within this group.
Yeah, that's an excellent. Can I respond? That's an excellent point because many of the seniors we have tried in the past. Many of them have such extreme commitments at this point in their life. Many of them play sports or already serving on numerous other committees at that point. I actually agree with you, sir. Like by the time they're a senior, they're in full preparation for the next steps in college. And so that would give us a little more flexibility.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Ms. Cushenberry, I think we're at future topics. If I remember the.
So we have 3 administrative regulations for career technical education coming forward. One administrative regulation that actually works through operations, but it is for the use of animals in our agriculture environmental class. So senior staff, Dr. Rodriguez has said yes to having that administrative reg come through academics. We have to give the chinchilla permission. And then the opt-in form from the work that was done from the board, that form is ready and has been reviewed by legal. I'd like to bring that forward as well.
Okay.
My last is to look at the next date, sir, only because I may not be here at the end of October, so I just want to bring that forward as well.
Okay. Let me get with the committee and others and we can look at it. Hopefully a date where you are available.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Anything else for future topics?
So our next meeting be technically scheduled for the 28th of October.
Yeah.
So
We'll keep that as tentative.
You said.
Under administrative regulations, I believe for student services as well.
That's what we're talking about that. Yeah, we will come back and request that, add some of those. We were trying to figure out where the meetings exactly were going to fall to see when exactly we needed to add them to.
Okay.
you have an early and
Yep, the discipline OE as well. OE 13 and 14.
Ms. Gordon, Ms. Frazier, do you have anything to add at this point?
The motion for changing the
Dr. Stratos says she's leaving in October. That's not. So what day will she be back after October? Inquiring minds want to know.
So the 28th is a Tuesday. I'm traveling for Magnet Schools Assistance Program to Washington, D.C. to voice.
Okay, I just want to make sure it wasn't a permanent,
Yes, ma'am.
and little nod or something.
And then if it could be the week prior to week post, I'm open to whatever the committee may allow. And I think the week post with traveling to, yeah. If it could be the week prior would help.
Okay, we'll meet quickly and try to nail a day and time.
Sounds good. Robin, any suggestions?
I'll get with her schedule first and then send it out to you all, and
Okay,
you will know if you're available.
Thank you.
appreciate that.
Thank you.
Bring it up at the October.
If there is nothing else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will second that motion.
Thank you
I
very much,
supposed to
everybody.
present it? Never mind.
Yeah, we're good.
Bye,
Appreciate
everybody.
everybody's work. Thank you.